Okay, welcome back to Enter the Matrix. Nikolai, these are crazy times right now.
Indeed.
Welcome
Hi,
back.
everyone.
Yeah, where do we start? And I was thinking long about this because I had a lot of different directions where I wanted to go today. And then just the world is literally going crazy. And I thought, well, let's kind of talk about that and see where it's going and what Matrix wants us to do or how Matrix actually wants us to respond. So, I mean, for the people keeping score right now, Los Angeles is burning. We've got riots, we've got craziness. And I wanted to start this conversation, Nikolai, by saying, okay, shit's literally blowing up everywhere. We got people rioting in the streets. We've got craziness. And so the question where I wanted to start this is why now? And what's going on with the Matrix that is bringing all this stuff in this moment to the surface?
There are multiple things unfolding. One, we've chatted about quite extensively, is the shift from the fifth to the sixth matrix. As part of the shift from the fifth to the sixth matrix, what's happening is, as the sixth matrix is, think of it as a process. You know, when you got a zip file and you unzip and it's unzipping, and like on all the computers, some of bigger files take a while to unzip. It would it's like I remember when I would like download a game and it would be like, I don't know, 500 megabytes, and you click on unzip and it takes like 10 minutes to unzip. So the sixth matrix is still installing. As part of the installation, it's taking energy from the fifth matrix. And what we've discussed, as the energy comes out from the fifth matrix, what has been created in the fifth matrix doesn't have energy to exist anymore. And that is related to multiple things. Number one, most important thing that it's taking energy out of is people. Because majority of population on this planet, and we've chatted about this extensively in a previous episode as well. When the soul loads into the body, it's an impulse of energy with that is supported. So the soul creates a mix of energies, sends it as an impulse into the body that shapes the personality, that creates the personality that then plays the game of evolution on this planet in an advanced evolutionary school.
Yep.
And that structure of the body and that what did the Scott Adams call it? What's the name of his book? Dust or
God debris?
God debris. So yeah, exactly. So think of it as a debris first, a little particle, a little fractal of primary consciousness or absolute that loaded into this body with the chance to fully connect with the soul and spirit, with a chance. That's, I want to underline that word. We're here when we load it. A very small subset of people had a stronger or more established connection, and that would be like all these messiahs, gurus, blah blah blah. They're like from childhood. That's their unique path. Majority of people, when they load it in, there's, the way I see it when I look energetically, it's like this, a very thin line that goes up. You know how those what are they called, streetcars connected to the
Yep.
to the electric wires? So there's a very thin one. And as we go through the game of evolution and we harmonize the personality, we harmonize our mind and all the constructs that are not allowing us to constructively interact with the world, that little thin channel is expanding. So what we're doing, we're synchronizing what we call triad of mind, soul, and spirit. And then it gets larger, larger, larger. That's what increases our vibration. That's what enables to have infinite energy source. Then we become energy independent, and we bring then energy to the planet. But until it's thin, matrix is what gives us energy. In all types of shapes and forms. Matrix itself gives us some energy, but mostly it guides us to interact with the environment and people where you're constantly exchanging energy and you're getting the energy that you don't have enough of. And everybody needs different mixes of energy because everybody's unique mix of energy. So that's why there's so much emotional stuff unfolding in a social matrix, because that's how we exchange energies. And by the way, what is called energetic vampires, what they do is they trigger somebody to get emotional, and that's when they take energy. So, and everybody can observe. It's great. It plays out in romantic relationships all the time. When somebody is missing some kind of energy, but they don't understand this whole concept of energy, they start figuring out how to trigger the other person. And they don't, most of the times, they don't even understand why they're doing it. And like they would just do something and they know what trigger because they know the trigger buttons of their other person. They would trigger the other person. When that person gets emotional, they get energy from another person. And then guess what? That person gets all relaxed. And it's like, oh, yes, mission achieved. And from another person, it seems like, what an asshole. You've triggered me. Now I'm fucking angry. Now I'm upset, blah, blah, blah. But you're relaxed.
Yeah.
What just happened is energetic exchange. So when people become conscious of that, I remember my part of journey when I started becoming conscious, when I was like, oh, I'm going to manipulate or trigger this person. I was like, oh, I'm missing energy. What kind of energy am I missing? Oh, this type of energy. Okay, can I give it to myself? Yes, I give it to myself. Let's say I'm missing attention. I was like, oh, I can give attention. Or I constructively go to my partner and say, hey, I would really like to have some attention. And then the relationship is happy, loving, and constructive. Because now I understood what I'm missing. I've requested what I desire. So coming back to a grander context. So in this game, everybody's triggering the fuck out of each other because everybody's stealing energy from each other, per se. And the reason I'm saying stealing, because they're not doing it consciously.
Yeah.
They're running out of energy and everybody's going around, and it's like you go trigger somebody or you go get some energy somewhere, and then you're like, oh, I feel good. Then somebody comes in and triggers the fuck out of you. Now you passed on the energy to that person. And that's this whole big unconscious funny game, per se. So as the energy is being sucked out of the fifth matrix, people who haven't established the connection with their soul and spirit, meaning with the infinite source of energy, will exit this life because they won't have energy to exist. And as a result, people subconsciously are feeling that they have more, less and less energy. That's on one end. So they're becoming more and more aggressive. They're becoming more and more like trying to do things that are irrational to get energy. On the other end, that we've discussed extensively, the planet has been increasing in vibration. So as the planet is increasing in vibration, if you have any kind of low vibrational emotion that have been suppressed and not dealt with, it has to come to the surface. Because if, let's say, it's like water and oil, right? They have two densities. You put oil, it floats on the water. So think of it as oil is this low vibrational energy, and the water level has increased. It used to, let's say, be here, and you were hiding all the low vibrational stuff here, let's say, but now guy here. So that the oil, like, it has to come to the surface. It's being pushed up. So all this low vibrational stuff, which is basically, in other words, called karma, because low vibrational feelings are produced in a scenarios where a person interacts with the world in a destructive or unconstructive way. So, and that's basically all that stuff has to come to the surface. That's why we have the whole episode telling people, here's what's karma and here's how you deal with this. And unless you process that, it will keep coming up. So now think of it, it's coming up at a global scale for everyone. So not only people are sensing, they're at the end of the rope with energy, plus this on top of it, it's all coming to the surface. Everything is imploding. And the third one, specifically when it comes to LA, and that's regional.
Yeah.
United States has started to pay its karma at a level of a country.
Oh,
Same, everything is fractal.
yeah.
Humans have karma. United States created coups of governments all around the world for the past 100+ years. Now they're just starting to taste their own medicine everywhere. For example, they've been bullies in trade forever. Now they've been trying to do that with China. Didn't work out that well.
Yeah.
Now they're begging China. I think they finally bent over, or whatever the word you want to use, and did whatever is necessary so China restarts sending the rare earth minerals. I think it was just yesterday in London or whatever it is. I'm like not up to speed on the past couple days. But yeah, so now basically America at a grand scale is going to really taste everything they've done to everyone else on this planet, and it's happening. And isn't what is it? Wasn't the mayor of LA was part of an organization called NED or something that funded protests in Hong Kong in 2019?
I
So,
don't know. I know the mayor in LA was part of some group in the 70s that was a communist group going to go see Fidel Castro a whole bunch in the
yeah,
70s.
she was also part of the group basically that funded protests trying to do Orange Revolution in Hong Kong.
Mm.
So now the same thing is unfolding in her own municipality.
Well, and this brings me to the next thing that I want to go into that ties into all this, because I feel like it's all somehow connected in a way. So, like, because we've talked at length about sovereignty, and then now looking at the U.S. from this karmic perspective, and their karma coming to the surface as a nation, and where do all these different political ideologies fit in or line up with the laws of the matrix? Because you've got the communism, the capitalism, the socialism, the fascism, the whatever other isms that they're going to come up with out there, right, that may not even be created yet.
What is the new one out of Silicon Valley? What is it called? Technocratism or whatever it's called.
Do they have that one?
I'm not sure if it's the word, but
Yeah.
it's basically technocrats are trying to take over U.S. government because they're seeing how irresponsible the government is, and that's why this whole feud between Musk and Trump. But it's like we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. Like Peter Thiel is deeply playing in the game in the background. There's many of them that are sitting on billions and billions of dollars, right? And all of their, or I should say trillions of dollars, and all of their value is tied directly to United States surviving as a state and as an economy. Because if it collapses, like if you'd say Musk, yes, Musk is trying to save the country, but it's selfish. And we, at the end of the day, humans do things selfishly. And there's nothing wrong with it being selfish. He understands that all of his companies are built on an American infrastructure. If America collapses, SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City, what is it, Grok, X, all that goes to shit, right?
Yeah.
And he's seen that is a train that is going 200 miles an hour into a brick wall. And if anybody wants to study and understand how civilizations collapse, Ray Dalio. Ray Dalio built Bridgewater Associates. It's like one of the most successful hedge funds. And the reason I think he discovered and wrote a whole book about these patterns and has great YouTube videos, has great articles and even presentations and diagrams about this, is he started meditating early in life, and that's what he attributes success of his hedge fund. He trained most of his team on TM, transcendental meditation, and when people meditate, they can sense the movement of matrix or the environment, so they can align with the vectors. And when you align with those vectors, it's much easier to predict which investments will generate great returns. So he senses where it's all driving, and then he went and dug up all the historic events and facts to demonstrate that where America stands, America is in the last, and let's call it in the fourth out of fifth act of a collapse. And I think the fourth act is internal riots, civil war type of situations, and etc. And these riots that are starting is like literally per the diagram that he's been explaining to people for years now. And I think he's not as let's call it, he's quite public, but he's not into the face as there are many other people. As a result, I think people are not taking him 100% seriously. And I think another big reason why people are not taking him 100% seriously, because when things are not going the way they should be going for egotistical people, they just pretend they haven't heard that information. They just pretend that's not what's happening here. That's what's happening with most of the US. And Elon is intellectually honest. He's like, guys, this is bad. Ray Dalio is intellectually honest. He's like, guys, this is bad. The rest is like, it's like, what are those ostriches that put their head in the sand and pretend
It
nothing's
reminds me of
going on?
that meme. Like, have you ever seen that meme where there's the cartoon dog in the house that it's burning, and it always says, "This is fine."
That's literally what's unfolding right now. And there's no turning around. And the reason there's no turning around, this process has been unfolding already. It hasn't been happening in the past 2 years, in the past 3 months. It was preparing for like 100 of years plus. And we're just finally going to the final stages. So the whole thinking that you can turn around the train that's going 200 miles an hour 30 meters before it hits the wall is unrealistic from the Newtonian standpoint of view of physics. And that's where we stand today. So the best course of action is prepare and brace for impact. And if we come back and unpack what brace for impact means, is become sovereign. And people misunderstand. Oh, that's another funny one. I got to dig into that.
Yeah,
people
please do.
misunderstand the word sovereignty. So all these billionaires, and by the way, everybody should watch the movie Mountainhead. It just came out, HBO, about 4 tech billionaires. And it literally explains Silicon Valley. So we talk about technocratic part of that's emerging, that's trying to save the country. Everything is fractal. And it's funny, I was chatting with a bunch of friends when Trump got elected, and like I lived in America a bunch. They're in states, right? And I was chatting with them, and everybody's, oh, it's like a breath of fresh air. I was like, guys, you're so ecstatic right now, but you're not looking into the depths of the situation. You're just reading the cover of a magazine, not the content of the magazine. And they're like, oh, what do you mean? I was like, take Trump. Look into him as a human. And all his karma, or all his unconstructive behavior, all his inharmonies, fractally will be expressed at the scale of America. Because everything is fractal. So in the business, founder creates a business egregor. And in the last episode, we talked about how they created.
Yeah.
So whatever we have in harmonious will express in the business. So look at your leader. It will express. I was like, wow, but look, like, for example, look at J.D. Vance. I was like, and now look closely at J.D. Vance. And he has his own karma or his own unprocessed trauma and etc. And it will express. It's just the difference for Nikolai and Mitch, it expresses at a small scale. For Trump and J.D. Vance, it expresses at a scale not only of a nation, but a whole world, because US, the whole world was a colony to US. And big kudos to US that they figured out how to colonize the whole world through, Hollywood and through Silicon Valley and through whatever. But we're at the end of that because the old structures, and I've chatted about a bunch of different reasons why we're at the end of it. And so, yeah, where I was going at this, everything is fractal. And so as a result, all this, whatever inharmonies, and everyone, first of all, coming to the surface. But come on, having two major leaders, Trump and Elon, shooting bullets publicly at each other,
Oh
going
yeah.
as far as saying, hey, the president of America is an what's the guy, the child porn list, Epstein
Epstein.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and this is an example. In the past, they could have held it internally, but where the planet stands today, everything has to come to the surface because everything has to be processed one way or another way, or it won't get processed. So let me come back to where I started: sovereignty.
Yeah.
Misunderstanding of sovereignty. People think it's about, and I started talking about billionaires buying the yachts and building underground cities and bunkers. Good luck. Maxime was mentioning, I haven't read the Bible. It might be the Bible he was mentioning, but basically in the religious sacred texts, there is a writing about this moment in time where it says the rich people of the civilization will create very elaborate coffins for themselves.
Mm.
And hiding, because if you really listen to all these people, they talk about some kind of a geophysical slash geopolitical event because they're sensing all this is unfolding. They are marking it, labeling it as geophysical, geopolitical. So that's why they think they'll save lives if it's a flood, like it was in the Bible. Then they'll have their yachts and they have the submarines, helicopters, and they have enough food, blah, blah, blah. If it's something else, then they can like nuclear fallout, then they go underground and etc. But
Yeah.
that's not what's happening. What's happening is majority of people have a very thin wire. And that thin wire supplies only so much energy for a person to survive. And the rest is supplied by fifth matrix. Fifth matrix is almost over. There's almost no energy left in the fifth matrix. I shouldn't say not. It's still around, let's call it around 50-50, around that. So there's still enough, but substantially less. So sovereignty is being energetically independent. That's why humans subconsciously always strive to discover infinite source of energy, right? Everybody talks about only if I have free electricity, I will be independent of government. What they're really
Yeah.
saying is if I only can have independent source of energy, because fifth matrix is now powering all these avatars. So all these ballers that hide on their yachts and underground and haven't processed their inharmonies to connect with their soul and spirit, they still run out of energy. And that beautiful $500 million yacht becomes a beautiful floating coffin. No matter how much food they have, no matter how much whatever they have, when the energy is out, the energy is out. Because this body is powered by the energy from the soul and spirit. And now there's a bunch of evidence for that. All these near death experiences. Anybody wants to dig into that? Mark Gober wrote a lot of excellent books. The first one, An End to Upside Down Thinking, where he talks about all these things where, like, this body doesn't store the memory, this body doesn't store anything. When the body died and then it was resurrected back, like people had memories come back and people were still aware of everything that was happening, even though body was not recording because brain was off. Brain was biologically dead.
Yeah.
And this is the example where this whole thing is powered by the energy from the soul and spirit. So that's why we stand today where in the transition, a lot of avatars will be turned off. And the mechanic of that, we're still observing. We're sensing there could be another like pandemic type of stuff. But one thing that we're seeing, because there is a decrease of energy, more and more people will start experiencing depression. Depression is basically lack of energy. And the way the body is wired, every body has an organ in the body that gets impacted if a person stays in a depression for 40 plus days. That organ starts deteriorating. So what we think will unfold, probably more and more people will hit depression as they cross the 40-day line. For somebody will be skin, for somebody will be stomach, for somebody will be reproductive organs, for somebody will be brain. And as that organ gets hit, all types of ailments will be initiated. Everything from bacterial infection to cancer, ultimately bringing that avatar to the end of the incarnation on this planet. So that's the technical, that's the mechanics, but how they play out will be interesting.
Well, so my God, we got a lot of stuff to go through on this. Okay, so a couple different things, just because you just ended off on it. Where do you think, or what is the goal or the rationale? Because obviously they don't work, and you're seeing this rise in depression, certainly globally, and you've got big pharma where they're just throwing the SSRIs as like this sort of fix.
Have you seen the latest thing from Tucker Carlson about SSRIs? Everybody should watch it. They don't work.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean it's and you have a anecdotal evidence that links a lot of the SSRIs also with different psychiatric disorders that end up happening, where with suicides or even mass shootings. So what's behind all of that, or what do you think is behind the sudden rise to, okay, we're going to solve this sort of depression?
Well, depression has been increasing for a while.
Yeah.
Right? Because the energy, let me paraphrase this. Fifth matrix was functioning fine, supporting all the avatars.
Yeah.
But less and less people were connecting with their soul and spirit as a percentage. Maybe on absolute number, the population has been growing. Maybe absolute number stayed the same, right? Or maybe increased slightly, but as a percentage of population, less and less people, because we've chatted about we're working in the dark, trying to keep our inner light. The system got so intense of pulling you in different direction from your own unique path, where you get lost. And when you get lost, less energy, depression equals depression, right? So that needed to be addressed, and the way was addressed by numbing people. Numb people with alcohol, numb people with weed. Why weed got legalized, right?
I was thinking about that.
SSRIs. Like, we're working with somebody right now, like with a couple guys who used weed extensively. And when they start looking in the real reason why they were drawn to use weed, they start understanding, all this starts clicking in. I was like, oh wow, I was not getting some energy and I just needed to numb myself. And I was like, and now it's all clicking in. There's like, well, they haven't been using weed in a while, but they still have sometimes a knee-jerk reaction to have some. But now when they understand the mechanic, they're like, I just go and get that energy that I'm seeking. I don't need to numb myself. And then as a result, I'm actually authentically happy and joyful versus numb and illusionary joyful.
So would you even say that a lot of the stuff now, even if we were to look at the current state of affairs, like with Los Angeles, the riots and all this stuff, is there an aspect behind all this craziness that stems from a depression in everybody? And
lack of energy, scarcity. What happens when there's scarcity?
Everybody's running.
Everybody's starting to one is depression, but then there's also panic. For some, it expresses as panic. It's like, fuck, I want to survive. And it's a subconscious survival mechanism that it's activating.
Interesting.
I need to get energy somewhere. I need to do something. So now you have combination of like, now you have aggression increasing across the world everywhere, of depression and aggression.
And would you say then, like, if we're because you were talking earlier about this idea of the energetic
Yeah,
vampires.
yeah.
So would you almost say that these different political ideologies are just in fact these energetic vampire kind of factories, that where it's like, okay, I'm going to be a Democrat, I'm Republican, I'm this, I'm that, and Matrix is like, okay, these people will all be, sort of pitted against each other in a way of riling up the other side to steal energy in some fashion? Or how do you think it's kind of working?
On one end, yes, but the real fundamental level there, we've chatted about it in the last episode about egregors. So egregor, the Republican and the Democratic Party are just egregors with different parameters, which creates a more colorful and diverse theatrical set for evolution. So it's like Matrix is like, great, let's people fight to learn that by fighting they get no results, and that's how they hopefully process their karma. And if they don't, they don't. Then they attempt again. In the past, they would have attempted it again on this planet, meaning they would come out of the body, load back again, and attempt to resolve that karma again. Now we're in transition. They're not loading here again. If you haven't processed your karma, that soul gets sent off to other sectors of universe
Mm.
to continue their evolution at that level, because this planet became too high vibration for that soul. That soul is carrying too much unstructured energy, meaning karma, where it cannot incarnate at this planet, because this planet is literally moving towards becoming heaven in a physical form, where we're still in the bodies and we're focused on co-creation. That's the sixth matrix is all about. It's a creative lab where people, sovereign beings, co-create, where their question is not how do I get extra money, extra energy, how do I get better contract for myself. Their question becomes, that they obsess with, what else can be created and what else can be shared with the world. There's a very different state, and only people who are in sovereign state can get there, because if you're not in a sovereign state, and once again, sovereign state starts energy, big
Energy.
channel, infinite amount of energy, and the person starts feeling sustainable state of happiness, because when you have infinite amount of energy, you're like, there's no reason not to be happy. I have everything I need, no matter what even I have in my material world, because you feel like you can survive forever. That's literally the feeling. It's like, no matter what happens, I will live, because I have infinite amount of energy, plus I'll figure out whatever issues I face because I have so much energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and one more thing I'm going to add. I briefly mentioned it in the past, but I want to underline it. When the person gets the infinite amount of energy, it also becomes infinite amount of energy for the matrix, because the energy passes through the person to this planet. So now the planet and the matrix wants to protect this person because it powers everything on this planet. And I think it's in Buddhism. They say for every carrier of consciousness who is synchronized triad, with the triad, which is the soul and the spirit, mind, soul, spirit, which basically got access to infinite amount of energy. They power 10 units of other life, plants and animals. So
Mm.
all these decorations that we see are powered by people who've connected with the energy source. So hence, the more energy we bring here, the more expressions of life and forms we can create here. Since the sixth version of the matrix, the creative lab, only people stay here who've connected. Hence, now there's a dense amount of energy. Hence, we can invent things that were impossible in a fifth matrix because there's so much more energy here. We can create more advanced life. We can create more advanced technology to travel around the solar system, universe, and etc. Because at the end of the day, it always starts with the energy. If there's scarce amount of energy, there's only so much we can create because it all starts there.
Mm. And so if we're looking at sixth matrix, I'm going to use the term, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's got that sort of utopia spin to us, like we're entering this co-creative sort of utopia.
Yeah.
And if we were to look back throughout history, you can see where it's like different groups under the fifth matrix have tried to create this concept of utopia, whether it was communism, whether it was these different groups where they're like, okay, if we
all these spiritual communities in India, Italy, Portugal, etc.
So how has that failed, and why have they not been able to create this utopia that is what the sixth matrix promises, or what it's supposed to give?
Yeah, well, in business they say product is ahead of its time. So Palm created the first iPhone, right? It literally had more or less all the functionality, like rudimentary functionality of first iPhone, but it was ahead of time. For it was the market was not ready. The market was not ready because it needed to get to the sixth matrix to create that. You cannot create, and people intuitively are connected and sense the vectors. They knew that civilization is heading in that direction. So they pick it up from the field, from a collective field of consciousness. So we're heading there. I'm going to create it now. And a bunch of people sense it and they start creating it, but they're creating it from the blocks of the fifth matrix, where people have karma, people have scarcity, and it's impossible to have communism or utopia or whatever, where people fighting for energy and resources. It's just impossible. And it's like, no matter, like, well, that's why communists became so totalitarian, right? They're like, fuck, these people are not understanding our higher values.
They don't get the vision.
We're gonna either send them to Siberia, the strong ones that disagree strongly, or the rest, we're gonna smack those values into them. Did not really work out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the building blocks of civilization have to be ready, which is the building unit of civilization is a human. And if a human is not in a state of sovereignty, and the other one is not in state of sovereignty, and another one is not in state of sovereignty, you cannot build this utopian per se world. And utopia now has negative connotation. You cannot create a creative lab.
Yeah.
Because once somebody created something, other people trying to figure out how to use it to get more resources from other and old stuff,
or how to steal it. And
exactly.
The same thing. So then we could look at the common denominator, or exactly that base level thing to even having a quote unquote utopian / creative lab society is infinite energy. If we have infinite energy, then only
infinite energy, you feel infinitely happy and complete. So you don't need to go and steal anything. You can provide for yourself no matter of environment you're dropped in. So that means you can provide for yourself. That means everything will be fine. You don't need. So now once you provide it for yourself, now you're like, well, what can I create for others? I want to share things, right? Because like I have more than enough. I'm like, I don't need extra. And now you start coming up what you can create, and to create bigger things, you join other people. You unite into groups, teams, collectives, whatever you want to call it, right? And now you unite in this not because you feel weak, because right now people unite into those because it's like, oh, this guy has these resources or has the skills, I don't have this, blah blah blah. I'm gonna unite so I can get ahead. There you unite because you're like, oh, I want to build a spaceship, and I'm only good. I understand only engines. I don't understand materials. Let me find somebody else. And the other person is like, nah, I don't feel like working with you because I don't know. Yeah, I don't like your nose per se. And of course, that's not going to happen because and they're sovereign. I'm like, I'm just going to keep working in materials. Spaceships is not my thing. I'm just going to do materials for let's say for different type of stuff for agriculture, right? For different industry. That's where I feel most excited about. So now the
Mm-hmm.
person cannot be sold on like, oh, but space travel is so exciting. Come on. So now this person whose purpose is to do materials for agriculture will not be sucked in and sucked away from that person's purpose into something they
Mm,
shouldn't be doing. And
I
that's how
see.
a lot of people are misaligned right now in the world because they're chasing success,
Well, I feel like it's not even just. I feel they're chasing success, but they're also
safety. Also, they're chasing.
and they're chasing ideals of others.
yeah. Well, that's a big one actually, and that's what we explain to everyone we work with. It's funny, on our website it's written that we work with leaders, but in
Mm-hmm.
reality we don't work with leaders. Like right now we have clients like software developer. Yeah, she's a she's a great woman. She's a software developer. Yeah, she's like a manager at some scale, I guess. Few software developers under her or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But on a grand scale of things, she's not a leader. But at the end of the day, those people who sync up with their triad are becoming leaders, are emerging as leaders, because people sense that they gain clarity and they have access to infinite amount of energy. So they're trying to learn how they got there. So leader has clarity. There's like, I know how this environment works. I know who I am in the context of that environment, meaning I understand my purpose and I'm aligned with my purpose. And as a result, I have infinite amount of energy. And now everybody else subconsciously is being pulled towards them. It's like, how did you gain this clarity? How did you build a happy life? How are you so energetic? I tell now I'm like catching up here and there with all types of entrepreneurs. And like when I was in that boat, cannot eat gluten, cannot eat dairy. If I drink one beer, I'm fucked. If I don't sleep 7.5 to 9 hours, I'm fucked. All these conditions, it's just because of lack of energy. And like all these entrepreneurs are still in that state. And I chat with them. I was like, I slept 4 hours today. And it's like, how the fuck you're glowing? It's like, it doesn't matter. I have infinite amount of energy. I don't need to sleep. I can eat whatever I want. Like, well, you've seen, I eat whatever I
Yeah,
want, and then I chase it with 7 beers, and I'm perfectly fine.
yeah.
So
True
that's
statement. True statement. I've witnessed.
yeah. So that's ultimately that state. And now more and more people are asking the question, because they've tried all the biohacking, they've tried all the pills, they've tried all the devices, and we have the whole episode on sovereignty and devices, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it does not get them there. So they're like, okay. And I started there because I was looking for the same thing. I wanted to be top performing leader of my company. I wanted to be top performing CEO. The amount of shit I've tried on my body, the amount of devices I've tried is insane. And it only made everything worse. It did not give me this additional energy. I was looking in the wrong place.
So a couple things I wanna finish off here, just based on what you just said there. So one, I want to know, well, okay, in terms of leadership, like what what is it, or how would you define it? And is everybody meant to be a leader in the sixth matrix, or are we going to have leaders and we're going to have followers or subordinates? That's the first thing I want to go into.
Yeah. So in the sixth matrix, it works a little bit differently. Everybody's equal partner, but there is a person who holds the vector. And the person who has the highest vibration holds the vector, because that person who has highest vibration basically brings per se the most amount of energy into the collective or whatever created. Let me paraphrase. Does not bring. It's not necessarily brings the most amount of energy. Ultimately, everybody has to bring their part, and usually it should be more or less balanced. But the person with the highest amount of highest vibration has the highest clarity. Hence, they sense more clearly where the collective is heading.
Got it.
So automatically, they will somewhat emerge as a leader, but they will not be perceive as a leader in the fifth matrix. And I'll give you an example. We have a small collective in Atman. It's myself, Maxim, his wife, Irina. That's our collective.
Mm-hmm.
All three people high vibration. Maxim is the highest vibration. He sees what's gonna unfold before me. I see it usually a week or 2 weeks later. So sometimes he calls me and was like, dude, we should be adding this to the product, or that's how we should be changing business model or whatever. I'm like, I'm not sensing this. Fuck off. In the beginning, that was my reaction. I was like,
Yeah.
that's not the case. So I would be like, you've dreamed up things, you know? And I observed too many times where I know he gets the email, he gets the message before I get it a week or 2 weeks later. And then a week later, I was like, you know what? Yeah, we should be doing that. And so that's what happens because he has high vibration. He kind of is gets synchronized with the vectors and what's unfolding and where to go a little bit faster. So he can share it with the group. He can align the group faster. But ultimately, he can share it. But the best when I get to that spot as well. And then it happens for me naturally as well. So that's why he's kind of leader, but not, because we all treat each other equally and we understand if like anyone is missing from that triad that we've created per se,
Mm-hmm.
then the mechanism falls apart. Like what Irina does, me and Maxim like cannot do or suck at. Like what Maxim does, like me and Irina either suck at or cannot do. What I do, Maxim and Irina either suck at or cannot do. So
Yeah.
as a result, we've joined forces and we get there is in a six matrix there is a multiple. Basically, every additional person, it's like an exponential output. It's not a linear output. So with every additional person, the output significantly increases. I don't remember the exact formula, but like two people, I think you multiply not by 2 by 3 and no, or by 4 and whatever. If it's 3 people, then you multiply, let's say, by 9 and etc. It's exponential. And there is a specific variable that or constant that I don't remember that you use to calculate that.
So then if we're even looking through the lens of egregors like we talked about in the last episode, how does the created egregor get changed or impacted by the highest level vibration person in that egregor?
So in the fifth matrix, egregors are more rigid, and matrix prioritizes higher vibration person, their evolution over lower vibration person. So like basically when a higher vibration person walks into a room, matrix will use low vibration people to create scenarios for a higher vibration person to pass through their evolutionary lessons. But because matrix is very efficient, it usually creates it tries to always create a two-way experience so that the low vibration person has evolutionary experience there. Excuse me, in that situation as well. But the high vibration person is prioritized. So when you're creating egregors in the fifth matrix, the high vibration person, their evolution would be prioritized because they're already more connected. And matrix wants to get that person over the line where they become sovereign so that they can help others to become sovereign. If you're partially sovereign, you're useless. That's why in the airplane they tell you first to put your own mask on for the oxygen mask, because once you put on your oxygen mask, you can help others. But if you haven't done that, you help one person and then you're out.
Yeah, you're dead. It's over.
Exactly. And that actually breaks universal law, the first universal law, protect life. In the first place, you have to protect your own life. If a being does not know how to protect own life, then that being should not exist evolutionary.
So last piece here, to bring it all around to where we started at, where this world is just in the state of craziness due to all the different shifts going on.
Transformation. That's
I
would call it.
going through
and
transformation.
we are the final stages of transformation. That's why it seems like insanity, craziness, and etc. We're just going through what we call global shift, paradigm shift, and all paradigm shifts feel very uneasy and challenging.
So as we go through this paradigm shift, then, and you know, how does Matrix want everybody to show up? Is it we all just grab the bag of popcorn and hold on and watch as things unfold, or what are the sort of concrete steps that all these different souls and
Yeah.
energies could do as literally Rome is burning, or the
Yeah.
quote unquote new American version of Rome.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Some people, souls loaded in to have this experience of, let's call it a lower vibrational evolutionary school, and they knew they're not going to transition to the sixth matrix. They can grab popcorn and just do fuck all, let it play out, enjoy. But the ones who are here to transition and stay for the sixth matrix, they are supposed to work on their karma, because karma is the main anchor that will prevent people from transitioning. And karma is just inharmonious, any kind of inharmonious interaction and expression in the world. To make it more practical, any kind of negative emotions you have, that's unprocessed karma. And if you have those, and if you have strong ones, they just need to be dealt with and worked with. And by the way, all the stuff I'm sharing, I'm describing it hopefully a bit more pragmatically and practically, and with some technicalities. But if you search YouTube for like global transition, planetary transition, whatever, there's so many spiritual channels that are talking about exactly the same thing, but using more woo-woo words. And as a result, it's harder to relate. I've been monitoring the past few weeks what's happening in an English-speaking YouTube, because in as I mentioned to you when we chatted privately, like there's no news in Russian speaking YouTube. Everybody knows what's happening. Everybody knows what to do. Like everybody gives you step by like maybe not as advanced as we approach it, but like I've been sharing not our video recently where the guy says there are 90 negative feelings, emotions. If you haven't figured out how to deal with them, you're not transitioning to this new version of the world. And then he goes in detail about all the 90 feelings and emotions, and people should look for them, and etc. The same thing is happening in the similar thing is happening in English speaking YouTube. However, it's too, as we say, woo woo, because
Yeah.
it's hard to relate, because it's less practical. It's like, heal yourself, open your heart. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what does heal yourself mean? What does open your heart mean? Like, because when I was starting my journey and I was like experiencing this, like you call it new age, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and it's like, open your heart. And it's like, I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about.
Do you want a
My
scalpel? Like, how am I going to do this? Right?
exactly. My heart is fine. Just fuck up.
Yeah.
And so I've been monitoring the English speaking YouTube for the past couple of weeks. And that's what I realized. There's so much of that is like, and as a result, a lot of these retreats and things that are happening, and I'm not saying everyone, there are great retreats. They're very structured, organized, practical, where you walk away transformed person. But a
Hmm.
percentage of those is like very small. The rest of it, I call it a spiritual entertainment. Everybody sits together, sings kumbaya, takes some psychedelics or does some energetic massages, and everybody exactly experiences a joy for a moment and go back to their depressed life. So yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think it is that's behind that? Because it seems to me that getting into it from that very, as you said, like woo woo perspective
Yeah.
is is counterproductive. When we look at the goal of helping the souls transition to the sixth matrix. And that's what I love about what
Yeah.
you do, where it's like, man, it is like, here's what we're doing, here's how we're going to do it, here's how we're going to execute on it. Like, it's like you can sink your teeth into it, and it's like, all right, got it, I got my marching orders, let's fucking go.
Here are the
And the rest,
steps.
it's like
Yeah.
it's just, it's so, it feels like fog. That's the only way I
Yeah.
can, because it's like
Well, and that's
fog.
why they call it woo-woo, right? Because it's fog. And
Yeah.
by the way, when I'm describing all this, all these retreats or all these spiritual channels, in no way I'm trying to judge them. It's just the current state, and we have to accept it. And we are trying to bring more clarity, and there are a bunch of other people that are trying to bring more clarity into this space. And that's what all of us have to collectively do. And the only reason I'm kind of the statement is a little bit judgmental, or maybe not a little bit, medium level judgmental of the woo woo, is the people who get stuck themselves, and as a result enable other people get stuck in this foggy woo woo stuff. And the marker is, if whatever work retreats or whatever channelings or messages you share, if it doesn't give people practical steps to change their life, then stop doing it. Make it more practical. Make it like the metric for everyone in this work should be: does a person synchronize with a triad? And the way it shows up in life, does the person life improve in all aspects? Number one, they're on average happier as a human.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, all other aspects of their life as a result improve: their relationship, their business, their health, friendships, relationship with children, with their children, etc. So if it's not happening, then keep working on your practice so you can deliver that result. Keep tweaking your practice. And by the way, where we started with Atman, we weren't there. We had like, and I shared the story, I think, in one of the episodes, maybe the first one, where it's like in the beginning the efficacy of the work we did was like 1 to 5%, and then it became 15 to 30%, and then it became like 30 to 50%, and now we work in the efficacy of like 70 to 100%. And still there are sessions that we'll do that will linger 70 plus minus, right? But the way we work, we don't charge per session, we charge for the result. Here's the module, you pay once for the module, we will support you until you've navigated this part of your life.
Yeah.
If we manage to do it in 3 sessions, kudos on us. If it requires another 7, we'll show up and we'll do the additional 7.
Yeah.
And every human is different, and we're improving our system, and this keeps us honest. That means something needs to improve in ours. If we, instead of 3 sessions, we have to do 10, then the model breaks, because then whatever we've charged, let's say we approximately charge, we understand the investment we need to make in a person to create the fair monetary exchange. And if we start doing a lot of sessions, that means we have to improve parts of our system. Keeps us honest, keeps us evolving, and etc. So basically, what I'm sharing with others is it's time for everyone to become very practical. And another very pragmatic way of observing your clients who you're working with. Do they get triggered? If they get triggered less, great, because that means you processed a bunch of their karma, you processed a bunch of their inharmonious behaviors. If they get triggered the same amount, restructure your systems, improve your systems. Or for the clients of those people, just go to a different practitioner until this practitioner improves their systems. It has to, like, it's funny because I came from business to this field. To me, the only thing that mattered was result.
Yeah.
But it seems like a lot of people who came to this field, the only thing that mattered was pleasure and enjoyment. It's like, are they blowing smoke at me, and as a result, I can experience pleasure for the moment? Like, people get stuck in all types of meditation practices or meditation clubs or whatever. I was part of one, And some people are stuck there because they just sit in their transcendental state. Yes, it actually improved a lot of people's lives. So but then it's time to graduate from that. It improved part of their life, but then they get stuck. And then it
Mm.
means they need new instrument. That's another thing. Don't be afraid to change the instrument and move on, graduate. Because like the story I tell everyone, and I'll tell the story here, is like this anecdote where a group of friends skiing in a mountains, and they get snowed in, 5 meters of snow, and they cannot get out. And they're like, whatever. We have drinks, food. We will just socialize, party, enjoy, have fun. So they do it for a day, for two. They start running out of food. And they realize, wow, this is not as fun anymore. We gotta go get some food. But there was so much snow that it couldn't get cleared, right? And they get out and they cannot walk on snow. If anybody tried to walk on 5 meters of snow, you start swimming. You can't walk. And they are in panic. One guy finds old snowshoes on the wall that are being used as decoration. He puts them on, is able to walk on the snow, walks on the snow to the nearby like gas station or something, and picks up more food, comes back, saves the day. They continue enjoying their life until the snow gets finally cleared in the region. And now that guy tries to dance in the snowshoes, swim in the snowshoes, play soccer in the snowshoes. Basically, whatever got you to the point where you are will not necessarily get you to the next stage in your life. So don't be afraid to change your approaches to life, to change your professionals, and etc. And now for everyone, it's real results. It's not about pleasure. There's just too much pleasure in the spirituality where I was starting. Too many people were orientation was 80% pleasure, 20% results. Now
Mm.
is the time to flip it. 80% results, 20% pleasure. And it doesn't mean it has to suck, the sessions. Like we've done sessions with you.
Yeah.
Okay, some of the stuff will tell you, you'll be like, it's triggering. But it does not suck.
No, 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 no. And it's always one of those things like, it's you know what you were in Canada. It reminds me of Buckley's. Did you ever have Buckley's as a
Oh
kid?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's like,
The cough
man,
syrup or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Their whole advertisement was it tastes horrible, but it works, right? And I remember it's like every time like you take that spoonful of medicine and then it's like suddenly like you can breathe, like it's awesome because
yeah.
it just hits you and you're just like, my God, my nose is open, I can do all this, but it's like, yeah, it's got an aftertaste, right? And it's like, well, that's how it goes. It's like, there's
I
it's
want to
like,
be. I want to really clarify what I'm trying to say. It
mhm,
doesn't mean you have to suffer. If the
yeah.
journey is also suffering, you also should change your professional or practitioner or whatever. Because I've seen some of those that pride themselves. You're gonna be in fucking pain. And I used to like suffering. As a result, I was attracted to those professionals. And I clearly remember it was a moment. My friend flew in, one professional from Bali. We were hanging out in Egypt, and I was like, and he paid for him for a month, right? So anybody could do sessions with him. So I did one session, and as he was doing the session, I was looking at his face. And if he watches this video, hello to him because he's a friend, the professional. Uh, he had a smile. The more I suffered, the bigger the smile was. And I told him, I was like, dude, your modality does not align with me. I'm over suffering. It seems like you enjoy too much making people suffer. He brings results through suffering, but I don't
Interesting.
need to go that. I don't need to take that path. I was like, I've done my modalities that made me suffer. You should be challenged. That's the word.
Mm,
If
yeah.
everybody is like kissing you in your ass and not telling you the truth, like we will tell people as it is and they will be challenged. And that's why that's the not pleasant part, where we will help person to bring their dirty laundry to the surface, because it needs to get washed and it needs to get dried and it needs to get folded. And that's how we achieve harmony.
And that's a perfect place to end this, I think. Just all we need is a little fabric softener and a touch of bleach, and we are ready to go for
We're ready
next
for the sixth
week.
matrix.
We're ready for the sixth matrix. I'll be smelling pretty, I can tell you that.
Yeah, and
Well,
everybody, the final statement for me is everybody should finally take care of their laundry.
yes, yes. Check mark. Laundry in the basket, ready to go. Well, as always, Nikolai, it was a pleasure, and I look forward to next week. Going to go in some different directions next week, so stay tuned. But hopefully, riots are over by then, and we're back just cleaning laundry.
Or there might be more riots. And that really forces everyone to do their laundry, which I think will be more of the case. It might not express as riots, it might express as other instabilities in the world, but transformation always expresses itself through instability, because old systems have to break so that new systems can have space to form. And the people who read in between the lines, they're not anxious or stressed out. If you're anxious and stressed out, do the laundry and you'll find peace, and you'll actually be happy and find a happy spot in a new version of the world. And that's another big advantage. Wherever we're heading, people who are sovereign will stand on their feet very solidly, and will just build something new, or whatever they're building will just emerge to a new scale.
All right. Well, off to do
Thanks,
laundry.
Mitch.
I will see you then.
See ya.